Alright guys, so today I want to talk about this knife right here. The reason I've got this knife in its own video is because I did a video recently on my entire Copperlock collection back before Christmas. But when Christmas rolled around, I wound up getting this knife. And it's just a beautiful blue. I think they call this crandall jigging. And if I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comments. I believe this is crandall jig. It's got this kind of what I consider like an old school case shield. It's the block letters with the two big double X's there. It's an oval shaped shield, but as you can see, it's a little flatter on the ends compared to the more common case shield. I see these on the older knives a lot. But this is a full-size Copperlock, and the full-size Copperlock is pretty much one of my favorite case knives, favorite case patterns. The Copperlock takes design cues from the Copperhead, as you can see by this bolster here, and the other end of the knife mimics a standard full-size trapper. And obviously the Copperlock comes from this knife being a backlock model, which is another reason I really like it. You just get that little bit of security of having that locking blade. The pattern number for a Copperlock, in this case, it's a bone handle, a jig bone handle, so it's 61549. Sorry, I had that off of frame. 61549. So what you've got, like I said, the 6 for the jig bone, 1 for the number of blades, 54 is that full-size trapper pattern number, 49 is a Copperhead pattern number. So they kind of just mixed that up and made it a 549, which is pretty neat how that worked out. And so that's what you've got. This is I don't have a Copperhead with me on the table here, but you can see how the shape of the cap end of these knives is pretty much identical. The size of these knives pretty much identical in length. This knife has slanted bolsters, so it's not the best one to compare with, but it's just what I've got handy. But yeah, so that's the comparison of the Copperlock to a full-size trapper. You can get a Copperlock in 2 different blade configurations. And if I'd have thought about it, I would have got one out, but I was just more or less talking about this knife. But the Copperlock comes with this, what I consider just one of the most attractive clip point blades. You've got the long pull, you've got a swedge up top here. Just a great looking blade, very useful. The profile of the blade lends itself to just about anything you need to do, whether it's peeling an apple, cutting rope, all kinds of food cutting. You can cut your steak with this when you're out at the barbecue. It's just a great all-around blade. You can also get the Copperlock with a Wharncliffe blade, and that long Wharncliffe blade would lend itself more along lines of like a utility knife or something. So people who do leather work, they talk about how they like the Wharncliffe blade on a large Copperlock because they can just make those nice fine cuts with the tip of the blade. And if you want to see Wharncliffe Copperlocks, I've got 3 of those, and you can check those out in my Copperlock collection video. But I just want to show this knife. It's a really nice blue, just a really pretty knife. I just love the way Case does their bone handles. If there's one thing Case does better than anyone, it is their dyed bone jigged handles. They just nail it every time. Very rarely do you see a Case knife that has ugly covers. This knife matches good on both sides. The action on this knife is great. The lock is firm, but it's not uncomfortable to push. And yeah, Just a nice knife. I know a lot of people ask me, they'll say, how do you like those Copperlocks, because they don't own one. And I feel like a lot of people are missing out on this knife, because a lot of people that I talk to, they don't own a Copperlock, but I'm telling you, it's one of my favorite knives. It's got the lock back, which, like I said before, gives you that security of not having that blade fold up on your hands if you're doing something a little more aggressive. But it's slim. It's obviously a single blade, so you've got a slim knife. But the length of it, like I said, it's the same length as a trapper, so it's about 4.25. So it's just about a perfect size for me. They make a mini Copperlock, which I feel like is just a little bit small. Small for me. Some people probably be just right. The mini Copperlock is exactly like the full size. It's just scaled down to about 3 5/8 inches, I believe. And that makes sense because it'd be about the same size as a mini trapper. So anyway, I'm just rambling on at this point, but I want to show you all this knife. I don't know the exact name of the color of this knife. It could be royal blue, but I'm not sure because this particular knife, I didn't get the box with it. Bought it off eBay in brand new condition, but they didn't have the box, so I'm not exactly sure what that color is, but it's a real pretty royal blue. This knife has a good fit and finish quality. No gaps, the blade lines up just almost absolutely perfect. Perfect enough for me by a long shot. So anyway, that's my Copperlock that's not on my Copperlock collection video. And maybe I'll get around to doing them all again one day, and this one will be in there. But until then, there's a look at that knife. I appreciate y'all checking it out. Y'all have a good one.